Nashville's home for Morning Edition and NPR News.
WPLN.org is where you can find more from WPLN News, including the Nashvillager, your human-powered newsletter and podcast, exploring Nashville news and history. Subscribe to both at WPLN.org.
From Nashville Public Radio, I'm Blake Farmer, and this is Nashville. We're taking a short trip out of the city limits to visit the largest animals on four legs. They're not in a zoo, at least not anymore. They're wandering in the woods and knolls of Hohenwald, about 80 miles southwest of Nashville. This 3,000-acre refuge allows mammoth retirees to live out their days in near total seclusion. And today, on the eve of World Elephant Day, we're getting a peek inside an area that's off limits to most of the public, the Elephant Sanctuary. After the news, stay with us. This is Nashville.
Sharing news and stories from the voices of Middle Tennessee. That's This is Nashville. Our show is made possible by Music City Prep Clinic. This is Nashville is in service to you. So if you have an idea for the show or feedback you'd like us to hear, leave us a voice message at 615-751-2500.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The Texas House is set to reconvene soon after it adjourned when it was unable to reach a quorum. Democratic lawmakers left the state Sunday to block a campaign to redraw Texas's congressional map ahead of next year's midterm elections. This morning, on the eve of the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, Democratic National Committee Chair Ken Martin accused the GOP of unfairly redrawing a map to favor election chances for Republicans and disenfranchising minority voters in the process.
Just as the icons of the civil rights movement marched, protested, and got into good trouble, just as Dr. King and Fannie Lou Hamer and John Lewis fought to ensure that Americans could access the ballot regardless of the color of their skin, so too are these courageous Texas House Democrats standing up and fighting back against a racial gerrymandering scheme to disenfranchise Black and Latino voters.
On Fox News, Texas Governor Greg Abbott defended the redistricting vote.
Gerrymandering can be done, or drawing lines can be done, on the basis of political makeup, as in Republican versus Democrat, and there's nothing illegal about that. And then when you look at the outcome of the most recent presidential election, all these districts that are being added are districts that were won by Trump.
Meanwhile, President Trump's eyeing candidates for Federal Reserve Chair who'll lower interest rates. NPR's Frank Ordonez reports Trump says he's ruling out Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
President Trump says he's narrowed the field of potential candidates to lead the Federal Reserve to about 4 people. He told CNBC that likely candidates include Director of the National Economic Council Kevin Hassett and former Federal Reserve Governor Kevin Warsh. Trump would not say who the remaining candidates are, but pointed out that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is not one of them.
Because I asked him just last night, is this something you want? Nope, I want to stay where I am. He actually said, I want to work with you. It's such an honor. I said, that's very nice. I appreciate that.
Jerome Powell is the current chair of the Federal Reserve. His term ends in May, and Trump has frequently attacked Powell for not lowering interest rates. Franco Ordonez, NPR News, the White House.
A record catch of krill near Antarctica is resulting in an unprecedented early end to the fishing season. The Commission for the Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Resources confirmed the early closure of the season. Krill is central to marine ecosystems and an overall buffer against climate change. The decision to end the season early followed a report that showed a surge in krill catches after the U.S., Russia, China, and other governments failed to approve a new management plan. The Dow is down slightly. You're listening to NPR News. India's pushing back against the Trump administration's demand to stop doing business with Russia for oil. More from NPR's Dia Hadid.
After 25% tariffs on India came into effect last Friday, President Trump threatened more sanctions on countries that purchase Russia's energy exports. He argues those purchases are fueling Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. That includes India. Senior Trump aide Stephen Miller spoke on Fox News on Sunday.
It is not acceptable for India to continue financing this war by purchasing the oil from Russia.
That triggered a statement by India's foreign ministry. It pointedly noted that the US also trades with Russia. And Indian media reported that the country's purchases of Russian oil was initially supported by the US because it kept global oil prices steady. Dia Hadid, NPR News, Mumbai.
NATO has begun coordinating the deliveries of regular and large-scale, mostly U.S. weapons to Ukraine. Today, Sweden said it would work with Denmark and Norway to send $500 million worth of air defenses, anti-tank weapons, ammunition, and spare parts to Kyiv, so it can use that against Russia's ongoing military drone and missile strikes. Smoke from Canada's wildfires are still harming the air quality in the United States. Alerts have been issued from the Midwest to the Northeast. New York City is experiencing some of the world's worst air quality readings. People at highest risk of experiencing difficulty breathing or other health complications are often advised to limit their outdoor exposure. It's NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive, with small business insurance for protecting a variety of business types with multiple coverage options, designed to fit business owners' needs. More about small business insurance is at progressivecommercial.com.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee, working to help donors make more possible through the power of community giving. More at cfmt.org.
I'm Blake Farmer, and this is Nashville. We are spending the next hour getting to know the largest animals living on land. Elephants certainly aren't native to Tennessee, but many call this state home. And that's because 30 years ago, a couple of conservationists had a big idea to build kind of a retirement community for elephants. And if you're thinking, I had no idea we had a retirement community of elephants in our midst, well, that's because they take their mission pretty seriously. And even though the elephant sanctuary in the hills of Hohenwald could become quite the public spectacle, the elephants are shielded from any spotlight. Producer Mary Mancini took a little reporting trip to Hohenwald, about 80 miles southwest of Nashville. Her story will get us started.
30 years ago, an elephant named Tara marched down Main Street in Hohenwald, Tennessee, to get to her new home. Since then, the elephant sanctuary has grown from 100 acres to over 3,000, and over 30 elephants have rested and recovered there. And yet...
Do you know where the elephant sanctuary is?
I do not.
Do you know where the elephant sanctuary is?
We have an elephant sanctuary? Where?
The elephant sanctuary? No.
Is there one here in Tennessee?
I drove out to the Elephant Discovery Center in Hohenwald on a rainy afternoon in June. Unlike the actual sanctuary where the elephants are, and which is closed to the public, the Discovery Center is open for anyone to visit. The center stretches across 4 storefronts on Main Street. 3 hold the museum, meeting rooms, and offices, and the 4th is set up as an outdoor classroom. None of the museum visitors will ever get to see them in person, so there are opportunities to learn about the elephants and hear their sounds. There are also 15 live webcams that are set up to watch the elephants. They eat, which takes up about 18 hours of their day, dust themselves with dirt, create wallows, and splash in the mud. These are their natural behaviors. And that's the point, because the mission of the sanctuary is to provide a safe and peaceful habitat where an elephant can just be an elephant. Of course I want to see the elephants, but like everyone else, I'm told I can't. So I had 0 expectations. But then I'm led through the offices and out the back door where a big white truck is waiting. Behind the wheel is Janice Zeitlin, president and CEO of the sanctuary. She's taking me inside the facilities, but the chances of seeing an elephant are still pretty slim. We leave the Discovery Center, and about 5 minutes later, Janice turns onto a gravel road. There's no sign, just a security gate and a tall chain-link fence.
We have to keep our community safe, our neighbors safe, so we have to have a 10-foot chain-link fence all around the property.
But they also have to keep the elephants in, so inside the chain link is a whole other elephant-proof fence. This fence is made of steel, and there's open space between each post, which is large, but too small for an elephant to fit through. It's open and airy and really doesn't feel like a fence at all. Once inside the gate, it takes a few minutes to drive to the first habitat area.
Janice to Africa, we'd like to approach.
There are 2 different species at the sanctuary, Asian and African. And they're generally kept separate because they have different languages and behaviors.
I think of the Africans are very active and always pushing and shoving and knocking over trees. And the Asians are like your Labrador retriever. It's like, where's the nice soft spot? The tenderest blade of grass.
The rain beats harder, and Janice hits the gas to turn the truck around.
We'll keep moving. Maybe we'll see an elephant.
Then, a little further up the road, she hits the brakes.
Whoops, right there. There she is, right there. She just moved.
Look at her. The elephant stands right up against the fence. She's everything you would imagine. Wrinkled gray skin, speckled with muddy brown patches, enormous ears, ivory tusks, a long trunk, and her small dark eyes are staring straight at us. It's Tangi, the sanctuary's oldest African elephant, who's lived here for 21 years. I'm amazed by everything about her, and I can't help but stare back in awe. We thank Tangi for her warm welcome and continue along a newly paved road to the newest building, the Bull Barn, where, luckily, it happens again. This time it's Artie. Artie is massive, but his tusks have broken off, which gives him a sweet and goofy-looking expression.
He is such a gorgeous guy. I love looking at him. He's just so big.
We continue on to the Hickory Barn. It actually houses both Asian and African elephants who bonded before they came to the sanctuary and need to stay together. The 2 newest arrivals, who got here just the day before, are bonded pair Punch and Mickey. Living there also are Nosy, Edie, and Sissy. Many of the elephants came from difficult living situations. Sissy had survived a flood at a zoo.
She lived 2 days by holding her trunk out of the water. So when she first came to Sanctuary, she was afraid of water. But now she's pretty comfortable.
The tour ends on a ridge overlooking one of the habitats. 3 elephants are laid to rest in this peaceful and beautiful place. As a sign of respect and remembrance, caregivers have placed small rocks on the large piece of stone that marks their graves. Far off in the distance, we spot 2 elephants. Maybe it's Debbie and Ronnie, or it could be Ronnie and Minnie. It's hard to tell from this far away. But what we do know is that whoever they are, they're simply doing what elephants do. And that's exactly how it should be. Mary Mancini, WPLN News.
Mary, great story. That was from several weeks ago. This is now, and we are in the studio. There are no elephants in this room. However, we are streaming this episode today on YouTube if you want to watch instead of listen. It's the Nashville Public Radio YouTube page. Address is actually youtube.com/@WPLN. Janice Zeitlin, with the magic of radio, she was in that story. She's also right here in the studio with us, President, CEO of the Elephant Sanctuary. Can we start right here? Why don't more people get to see these beautiful animals up close?
Good question.
I know it's a tough one.
These elephants are retired from performing and being on exhibition. They've spent their life performing for people, and now's their time to be elephants, have space, make their own choices.
I mean, you know, we're in the tourism business here in Nashville, and I'm sure you've been approached about making this open to the public. What do you find yourself saying would be the harm in doing that? Because I imagine there is some educational benefit of people getting to see them in this bigger than a zoo kind of place. But what do you find yourself pushing back and saying?
Well, we're very fortunate. Our supporters understand that these elephants have spent 50 years on the road doing their thing, and it's now time for them to be elephants. And that's why we have cameras out in the fields, so people can watch from their home. They can just go to elephants.com, elephants with an S.com, and tap into our Ellie cams and see them being elephants, grazing, napping.
Yeah. And elephants can live a long time. You talk about the 50 years. I mean, like what more than 70 years out in the wild, right? And I think it's less in captivity, if I understand correctly. You all have been around 30 years now. Are you seeing that elephants can live longer when they're in the sanctuary?
Elephants come to us at an older age, and many of them come to us with the issues and health issues that they've had for many, many years. So for many elephants, we're their hospice care also. But we do have wonderful stories like Shirley, who came to us at 50, and she left us at 72. And this was after she had survived being captive in Cuba by Castro in the 50s. She had survived a shipwreck in Nova Scotia and a fire. She survived a truck wreck where 2 other elephants lost their lives. She survived a broken leg, and then she was sent to a small zoo where she lived as a solitary elephant for over 20 years until she came to sanctuary.
Wow. What a life, by the way. So is she one of the 3 that Mary was referring to in the story that are buried there on site?
She is, well, we have several elephants buried on site, and she is one of our elephants. She died in 2021.
Wow. This episode is not meant to talk about elephants dying, but I guess you make a good point that it's sort of this hospice care that you all are providing there. It made me think about, and it's been several years now, longer than I remember, but the Nashville Zoo no longer has elephants. Most of its herd, I think 3 of the 4 maybe, were sent to the sanctuary a decade ago or so. And then a couple of years later, one had to be euthanized, I think because they were sick enough they weren't even able to stand up anymore. And remarkably, it's like the next day, the other elephant died, maybe cardiac arrest.
Yes.
You may have to correct any of what I'm misremembering in that story, but did any of those losses teach us anything about the connection between elephants?
You're talking about Rosie,
right,
and Hadari,
yeah,
and Sakari. And Sakari is still with us. And she's very close to Tangi, who is our oldest African elephant.
Oh, in other words, the third from the Nashville Zoo is still doing well at the sanctuary.
Oh, yes. She built a relationship with Tangi soon after. Rosie came to us with a number of health issues and was in really under close watch for a long time. So her loss was not as unexpected.
Right.
Hadari, heart. And this is an issue for many African elephants, is a heart issue.
Is that right?
And there's no way to. They're so big, you really can't put them through a CT scan.
I guess not. If you're just joining us, we're getting to know the Elephant Sanctuary that has been quietly caring for retired elephants for the past 30 years in Hohenwald, Tennessee. Janice Zeitlin's president and CEO. We're sort of circling around this issue here, but help us understand why captivity is particularly hard on elephants. Is it because they're not captive with their herd usually?
Well, elephants in the wild stay with their, especially the females, their whole lives with their mothers, their aunties, and that's how they learn to find food, water, and grow. So when they're captured at a young age, then they're forced to live with non-related elephants, and they don't get all that social learning,
Yeah.
and how to live.
Wow.
Like that.
Well, it's been 30 years or so since elephant owner Carol Buckley built a barn for her elephant in Hohenwald. We've come a long way since then. Can you kind of walk me through the history here? How did it go from one person and her elephant to what I believe is the largest elephant sanctuary in the U.S., maybe beyond?
Well, we are the largest sanctuary for Asian and African elephants.
Oh, because you have both.
Because we have both.
Got it.
Right.
But yeah, how'd you go from, I think it started at maybe 100 acres and now you've got 3,000. How did it grow from, into this nonprofit that's really doing work, globally?
Well, Carol Buckley had the vision, and she and Scott Blaze, he was her partner, brought Tara to Middle Tennessee to be at the Nashville Zoo. And it was their dream to retire her from exhibition.
So you're saying it was their elephant, and she was at the Nashville Zoo. I guess that was maybe in Ashland City at the time, or maybe it was
it'd be in the 90s, so it would have been Ashland City.
So and then when it was time for her to be done, they took her back and kept her.
No, they were working with her. That's what they came through. The performance.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's how Tara could roller skate.
Wait, you're saying that she was sort of more like a circus elephant
than
was. I see.
Yeah, she was an entertainer. And then she was giving rides at the Nashville Zoo.
You could go on a ride? Is that a thing anymore? At zoos?
No, not in the U.S. That's for sure.
Well, there. So, yeah, how did it go from the one to, a couple dozen?
Like I said, that was their vision to retire. And then coming from that performance world, they understood that there were a number of elephants out there traveling and performing, and they wanted to be a resource. So first was Tara, and then came Jenny and Barbara, and it just grew from there. And finally Shirley, that we just talked about. And the sanctuary was surrounded by a paper company that had thousands of acres, and when they decided to close theirs, it grew naturally that way.
I see. So it was woodlands already,
yes,
and kind of perfect for habitat.
It was a small farm surrounded by all these woods.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of pine trees, there. And those are perfect toys for African elephants.
And you don't mind them knocking them down. They're non-native anyway.
No. And we have a new bull who came to us last October, Osh. He takes about 4 to 6 a day.
You're serious?
So, yes.
Well, when you were talking about them knocking down trees, I'm thinking, well, that's kind of sad. But now that I know that it's just a bunch of white pines that need to be taken out, I feel less sad. Do they use most of that acreage? Do they need that much space?
Well, in the wild, they'd walk, 20, 30 miles a day. So we like giving them space so they can move. It keeps them healthier. It keeps their feet healthier. And they can browse. They eat 16 to 18 hours a day. So they're cleaning the trees of their leaves and branches and bark and moving around.
Well, this is a great spot to take our first quick break because we're going to be talking more about, how you actually care for elephants here in Middle Tennessee. We'll also meet the newest arrivals at the Elephant Sanctuary, virtually anyway, who came from Louisville, and talk about how residents end up living out their days in Middle Tennessee. So stay with us. This is Nashville.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners. And Alliance Bernstein, built on a culture of knowledge and innovation to help advance the financial success of their clients. AllianceBernstein.com. Alliance Bernstein is not affiliated with National Public Radio. And the Tennessee Education Lottery, proud to have raised nearly $8 billion to support education programs in Tennessee. More information about programs funded by the lottery is available online at tnlottery.com. And Age Well Middle Tennessee, offering Elder Care Coach with online tools and personal consultations designed to help with caring for aged loved ones. eldercarecoach.org.
best journalism in the nation. That's an apt description for a lot of what you hear on WPLN News. The proof this spring is in the array of journalism awards coming in. The Supermajority podcast won 3 national contests. Our investigative reporting, partnered with ProPublica, was named some of the best education coverage in the country. And for arts and culture, This Is Nashville and our music journalism are being honored on the national stage. We're proud, and you can be too.
I'm Blake Farmer, and this is Nashville. We're getting an education on elephants today. We are more connected to elephants than you might think in Middle Tennessee, because we are home to the largest elephant sanctuary in the country, at least one that have Asian and African elephants, providing a place for former zoo and circus performers to live out their days with other elephants in almost total seclusion. We did get a report from producer Mary Mancini, who, to her own surprise, was given a tour of the 3,000-acre facility. And now leaders of the sanctuary have brought us these stories in the studio. We're streaming on YouTube if you care to join us that way, and thank you for tuning in. You can even drop a question in the comments, and we'll try to work that into our conversation if we can. And that's at Nashville Public Radio's YouTube page. It's youtube.com/@WPLN. So we've been talking to CEO Janice Zeitlin, and I'm also welcoming Kristy Eaker, who oversees care of the elephants, if that would be how you'd characterize your job. How does life at the sanctuary compare to life where they're coming from, which I think is often a zoo?
Yeah, so we're very fortunate. We have some very diverse, large habitat spaces for these elephants, so that's a huge change for a lot of them. We have a lot of social opportunity for these animals. You have to think about animals coming from captive backgrounds. They may have been housed solitary. They may have been taken from their families at a young age. So we can offer a lot of social opportunity for these animals. Just give them a lot of autonomy in their day. Those diverse habitats really do give them a lot of autonomy in what they choose to do throughout the day.
Mm-hmm. How would that compare, the amount of space that they have to just sort of freely do their thing, how would that compare to, let's say, a zoo? I mean, I'm thinking, what do you get at a zoo? 5 or 6 acres or something?
Every program's different,
yep.
So it's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
All these animals are coming from such a different place. So having the wooded areas, the ponds, the lakes, the streams, the grassy fields. Some of these animals have never even been able to knock down a tree, which is a very natural behavior for them.
It sounds funny to say. It may seem obvious to you, but that is a funny thing to say. You're saying they want to knock down trees.
They do. It's a natural behavior for them, especially the African elephant, so they can do that all day at the sanctuary.
That's fantastic. Janice, how do they get from wherever they came from, often a zoo, but maybe something else? How do they get to you?
The facility that owns the elephants make those decisions most of the time. And so they come to visit. And
they bring the people or the elephant?
The people
okay.
come to visit to see what sanctuary is and what sanctuary has to offer. And then they make their decision.
And I had not thought of this until just now, but I mean, is this a financial question for them? I mean, is there a charge for you to take them on? I mean, you're taking on many years of care potentially.
It is costly,
yeah.
And fencing is our biggest cost.
Is that right?
For the big elephants, yes. We're talking about 9-foot steel fences that go 4 feet in the ground to hold in a bull.
Yeah, if they can knock over a tree, they could probably take out a lot of fence.
They can. So that is our biggest expense. And we have 26 miles of fencing.
26 miles?
Of elephant fencing.
So let's say a zoo approaches you, though. Is this, and maybe every deal is different, is it a financial transaction or is it just a matter, is this a good fit? Do you have space?
It is not a financial transaction.
It is not?
No, they often support their elephant coming there and make those arrangements. But it's, it's a big decision.
Yeah.
They've cared for their elephants. Their communities are very involved with their elephants, so it's a big decision for them.
How do you were talking about the fencing, which makes me think of a question that's further down here. But like, how do the neighbors feel about it? I mean, I imagine there is a risk that an elephant gets out. Maybe it's happened.
It has not happened.
Has not happened.
No.
Let the record show. Hasn't happened.
We're very, very careful with our fences, and they get checked
Really?
all the time, yes, after every storm.
Well, that's just it. Yeah, even if it wasn't taken out, but a big tree could certainly compromise a fence in a way that a elephant could get out. Is this even something that's on the radar for people who live in the area, or is it well known enough and it's been long enough with a perfect track record, no big deal?
Well, we're really excited that we're celebrating our 30th year this year. So many of our neighbors have grown up with sanctuary. We adopt classrooms in the local school every year, and so it's really fun now to see those first graders that started with us almost 30 years ago as adults come back and bring their children
that is
to
special.
our Discovery Center to learn more about the elephants and elephant sanctuary. So I think there's a great deal of pride.
Do those fences also, I assume, are intended to keep people out? Is that ever an issue?
Not really. Our chain link fence is 12 miles. So it's around the perimeter of the entire fence. And that's to make sure that people don't wander in and not know where they are.
Well, that could happen too, I suppose. Let's talk about your newest residents, Punch and Mickey. I think they arrived in June. It may have been just a day or two before Mary came out and got her impromptu visit. But how did they find their way from the Louisville Zoo to Hohenwald?
Yeah, that's correct. Mary was there the day after they got there, so that was really exciting. So Mickey and Punch lived at the Louisville Zoo in Kentucky for nearly 40 years together.
Wow.
So we worked very closely with their teams. This was a very collaborative move. Worked with them for months on end. A lot of our staff went up there to visit their team and watch them work with their elephants. We talked a lot about the transfer and how they would transition into sanctuary life, and their staff also stayed behind with them and helped that transition. So we had a couple members of their team stay with our team and help that transition happen with those elephants. Mickey and Punch are doing great. We're really happy to report that they're learning to explore. They've been there just over a month now. They are sharing barrier with 3 other elephants on a daily basis, so they get that social opportunity. We've even gone as far as Punch to introduce her with one of the elephants there that's very social. We knew that we saw some affiliative behavior between them. We knew that relationship would be good and would work. So they've shared space a couple times, and we're going to continue to do that with them.
Well, what are you saying you see when they've come in and maybe they've only been with this one other elephant their whole life, which is not how it would be, right, in the wild. They would have a herd that they are with, but you can't just put them with the herd because why don't you just drop them in and say, y'all do your thing, but become a herd?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that. One, these elephants have lived at the same facility for 40 years, like we said. This is a huge change for them, too. So they're transitioning from a organization that they've lived at for most of their lives. They're coming into a brand new facility, brand new people, brand new smells. So a lot of stimulus to take in for them. So we like to give them a little bit of quiet time, let them relax, let them explore their space without feeling a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. They also need to learn to work with the staff that they're working with now. It takes a lot of time for them to gain trust with the people that are going to be working with them. So that's also a big part of it, is relationship building with the humans that's going to be taking care of them from this forward on. So we have to allow them time to do that. And then we also want to give them time to just explore that area, know that area before we put other elephants in with them. We usually what we do is allow a buffer between the animals, so a space where they can see and smell each other, but not directly interact. So that helps them kind of acclimate really well. And then as they show interest, we'll start to put them beside each other with a barrier in between them and just let them tell us, are they ready? And a lot of them, if they choose to interact, we'll kind of read that behavior, whether it's affiliative or whether they're saying, no, I'm just not ready. And we'll kind of read them. We'll let them have that autonomy and let them choose what they're going to do.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, I'm Blake Farmer. This is Nashville. We're on Elephant Patrol today on the eve of World Elephant Day next week, and we're getting to know the protective work that's done at the Elephant Sanctuary in Hohenwald. So, Kristy Eaker, what kind of staff does it take to care for 20 elephants?
Yeah, we have a large team.
Really?
So we have 14 elephants currently, about 22 of us on staff. We're a large facility, over 3,000 acres, so we're spread out. We're running all over the place, doing all kinds of things. So it takes a lot to take care of an animal like that size. So we have
what kind of
we have a
equipment
large
does one need to care for elephants
So,
that you might not expect?
Yeah, in Middle Tennessee, we have a lot of topography. So we actually use ATVs primarily as one of our work vehicles. We have to transfer the big hills and the spaces and go out to meet the elephants. They're not always in the barn ready for us, so we have to go out to them.
You're saying you have to go looking for them even when you want to do something. What is daily? I mean, do they get fed, or is there enough foliage that you don't have to worry about feeding them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that can change seasonally. So with our large habitats in the spring and summer, they often do provide everything nutritionally that the animals need. A lot of them being geriatric, they may need extra calories, so we will provide them with hay and a supplemental diet. They also get a lot of fresh produce. They get a lot of vegetables, and we primarily use those for training purposes. But they do get a grain-based diet and hay every single day.
Did I see they love watermelons?
They do love watermelon. It's one of their favorites.
This summer, I don't even know how many sugar baby watermelons I have personally eaten, so I'm feeling some kinship with them. How did y'all figure out that watermelons are a treat?
So elephants are very similar to us. They have a sweet tooth, so they like almost anything. So we do have taste trials we do with each elephant. We learn their preferences.
Taste trials?
Yes, we do. It's really important to know what their favorite foods are. That way, if we are asking them to do a behavior that we need to do for a veterinary procedure, they know they're going to get their favorite reward.
Who are the vets? Do you have a vet on staff?
We have a team of amazing 4 staff of veterinarians and vet techs.
I mean, where does one train to work on elephants?
That's a great question. So our primary veterinarian, she has a background with working with elephants in a zoological industry.
I see.
So she has a long background of working with zoo animals. And our director of veterinary care has been with the sanctuary for 30 years.
Yeah. So tell me about your philosophy of care. I mean, are you, are you trying to intervene? Are you trying to do checkups, or is it really kind of more of the hospice mindset where you're kind of letting them, be as free as they can and just keeping them comfortable?
We are still very hands-on with the animals. Being geriatric, they do come into sanctuary with a lot of needs. So once again, that's kind of individual. They all have their individual care plans described by our veterinarian. Also our management plans by the husbandry team, training plans, social plans. So going back to their individualized care, that's all written for them. Based on their needs. Some of them have arthritis, so we need to have special exercise and medication plans for them. Some of them need extensive foot care. Some of them have training needs as far as just learning how to train in a protected contact setting at the sanctuary. So some of them have come in with not that understanding and that background.
When you use the word training, what do you mean?
So we are training the elephants to basically cooperate with their own health care. So anything that you go to the doctor for, they need as well. So annual shots, foot care, dental, radiographs, they are smart enough. They know how to do all these things, and they get food rewards for participating with us.
And what about, I hear there are like enrichment activities. I mean, this really does start to sound like a senior center, but why is that important?
It's very important for many of the individuals. Some of them come to sanctuary not knowing how to properly elephant, as we say. They may not have ever swam in a creek. They may have never knocked down a tree. They may have never had grass to graze on. So we use enrichment strategies to help them learn to explore, learn to forage properly. We also can pair them with another elephant that can teach them that as well.
So, because if they were in a zoo, they were fed every day. They didn't eat from the trees because they'd be bare.
Correct.
Wow. What is it they seem to like in our foliage? Like this time of year, what are they eating when you're not feeding them watermelons?
So the African elephants love browse. And that's trees, tree branches, those types of things.
Browse?
So that's what we call it. So we are providing them with browse, but they're also getting browse in the habitat. So they are going out, they're stripping the trees of the bark, they're eating that, they're eating the limbs, they're eating the leaves. That is their favorite pastime. Asian elephants are more grazers, so they're grazing on the grasses that are in the pastures.
Yeah. And what about protected contact? What is that?
That is our training method that we use at the Elephant Sanctuary. It is where we always work with a barrier between us and the animal. We also use targets and bridges, like a dog whistle or a clicker, to communicate with them on what we would like them to do. So they have a series of cues that they know, such as foot, ear, shoulder, lean in, back up. All of those behaviors allow us to access their body for veterinary care.
So you're saying when you were talking about training, and that most of the training is so they can be good patients, basically.
Correct.
That's because you can't move them.
Right.
You need them to pick up their foot. You
Exactly.
need them to move themselves.
Exactly.
But you have to train them to do that.
Right.
And they might not have at a zoo setting?
It just depends on the program they've come from.
Yeah. Wow. Janice, we're all talking about older elephants. Do you ever have baby elephants?
We do not. No.
And that wouldn't make sense, right? Because it's about having older elephants. All of this sounds like it obviously takes a pretty big team. There's so much that goes into it. It sounds kind of expensive. How much does it cost to care for an elephant? I don't know if that's, you look at it lifespan or each year. What does it cost to care for an elephant?
A year, the annual cost for each elephant can be anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 a year.
And that's sort of the all-in. That's your staff. That's
Right.
the
We have
care
a
for them.
staff of over 50 because along with our elephant care staff, we have a facility staff that make sure our fences are mended and our barns are working. And so it takes a big staff to keep everything in good shape for the elephants.
Well, we're going to take one more break here. Kristy Eaker is the Senior Manager of Elephant Care at the Elephant Sanctuary. Kristy, thank you for being here. When we return with the team from the Elephant Sanctuary in Hohenwald, we will look to the future and hear about the mission to educate us all about these magnificent creatures in our midst. Stay with us. This is Nashville.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners. In Curry Ingram Academy, a junior kindergarten through 12 school, working to help students with learning differences reach their full potential through an individualized, structured, multisensory approach. Learn more at curryingram.org. And Amazon, proud sponsor of WPLN's daily show, This Is Nashville, engaging our differences so we can discover our unity. More on Amazon's community work at aboutamazon.com. And Zeitlin Sotheby's International Realty Global Advisors Melanie Baker, Shauna Brooks, Nathan Matwijcik, and Stephanie Kleiner, representing distinctive properties across Middle Tennessee. Listings available at Zeitlin.com.
An Indian film that premiered in 2013 has just been re-released with an AI-generated alternate ending. That decision is proving to be controversial for some viewers.
It is an aberration which an attention-seeking company has put out in the public domain to garner outrage.
That story next time on The World.
This afternoon at 2 on 90.3 WPLN News.
I'm Blake Farmer, and this is Nashville. Part of the mission of the Elephant Sanctuary in Hohenwald is about educating people around the world related to the magnificence of these animals. Laura Roddy is the education manager and joins Janice Zeitlin and me here in the studio. Laura, thanks for coming in.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
Well, we've been talking about the elephants that are protected on your 3,000 acres in Hohenwald, but what about their natural habitat? Can we sort of go to the other side of the world? How are elephants doing in Africa and Asia?
Yeah, so there's 3 species of elephants alive in the world today. So the Asian elephant throughout Asia, they are an endangered species. There's between 30 and 50,000 total on Earth. Then the 2 African species, there's an African savanna and African forest elephants. There is between 400 and 500,000 total elephants in Africa and on the continent of Africa. So the African savanna is also endangered, while the African forest elephant is critically endangered.
So they need protection in the wild, certainly, no matter where they are. So World Elephant Day is next week, which is part of the reason we thought this was a great time to do this. I understand that the sanctuary partners with international organizations to kind of help promote conservation efforts. What does that look like? How do y'all work with folks in those on the other continents?
A lot of the time it's a partnership. Those partnerships can take a lot of different forms, from supporting a project they're doing to having some of their staff come here and do a little bit of I don't like the word internship, but a little internship with us, right? So that they are seeing how we're doing the work we're doing, and they can take that back to their own organization. We actually have somebody here from India with our international partner, Wildlife SOS, right now. He's doing an internship with the education team, learning how we do interpretation on elephant conservation without people seeing elephants.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's maybe the secret that you all have to share, Janice. Yeah, what is? It seems a little, almost silly that we here in Tennessee would be teaching someone where elephants are native how to do the work. But what do you find the insight is that is helpful to folks?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, I mean, like, what do they gain from seeing this? What goes on at the sanctuary? And maybe it's this point that like, can you teach people about elephants without them having to see them do amazing things?
Well, one of the internships that we've had for twice now is from Malaysia. We have had elephant care givers there come to sanctuary to learn all about protected contact. And to be able
so this is what we were talking about in the last segment, where
Yes.
you try not to have to touch them, and
Yes.
is that the point? Okay.
Well, it's safer for the elephant and for the people working with them. And they're large animals, so sharing their space can be hurtful.
So is this where they might have used a method where they did a lot of pushing, pulling, use of ropes or something, and instead kind of training them almost like
Most elephants are trained through domination and fear. So this is retraining those caregivers to use protected contact, build trust, and cooperation with the elephants. And that's been hugely successful. They've been able to go back to their area in Malaysia, in Sabah, at Locale, and work with those elephants through protected contact and get some of the elephants off of chains, because they can work with them much better and much closer.
We've already talked about why the public is not invited to visit the elephants. So how can people get to know the residents of your sanctuary?
That's a good Laura question.
Laura, why don't you hit us with that? And does it have anything to do with the Elecam?
Somewhat the Elecams,
Okay.
yeah. So there's lots of different ways to get to know each elephant. So on our website, elephants.com, you can actually go and you can meet each and every elephant. They all have their own biography on there. But then you can go to those Elecams, and we try to keep captions of African elephant Tangi, Asian elephant.
You're saying there's like an updated,
Yeah.
So you know what you're looking at.
So the education team, one thing we try really hard to do is keep up with what elephant you're seeing, because we really want to create that connection between people that are just following online, whether they're in North Dakota, in Tennessee, or in Florida. Wherever they are, they can look at those Elecams and see what elephant that is, and they might have a connection with that elephant.
Well, it does seem like the stories of the elephants themselves. I mean, I remember when, oh my goodness, now the name's escaping me. Who died? Who was in Cuba?
Oh, Shirley.
Shirley.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember. I think I wrote a little obituary for her when she died several years ago, because it was, I mean, her story is incredible, first of all, having lived through all she lived through. But yeah, what do you find is helpful in sharing so much about the elephant's story to making that connection?
Sometimes it's just small pieces that somebody remembers an elephant from when they were younger, and they come here and they're like, so I'm from Louisiana, and I remember this elephant when I was a kid. I think she moved here. And I was like, are you talking about Shirley? And they're like, yes. And they get so excited she got to come here. And then we get to tell her story of her time here and how she saw Jenny. So she saw an elephant when she first got here. There were reunion noises and chirping and barking. And they had known each other more than 20 years before coming to Sanctuary. And they remembered, or we think that they remembered
Wait,
at least.
are you saying that one was maybe in a zoo in Louisiana, had not seen this elephant in 20 years, and it was like long lost sisters? Wow. If you're just joining us, I'm Blake Farmer. This is Nashville. We're still talking elephants here. We only got a little bit of time left. So these stories, people make a connection. Does that mean you have people all over the country who are watching these webcams and sort of trying to make this connection with the sanctuary?
World.
Really?
So we have followers from all over the world. So most of our following is in the United States, but so we do distance learning. So we do education programs with classes all over the country and the world. Last year, we met with classes in 40 states in the United States and 10 different countries. So we have followers literally all over the planet that just have a passion for elephants, and they love hearing our stories.
How do people, if a teacher's listening to this and thinking, you know what, I could use something like that, how do they kind of get on the list to get to be part of the program?
Yeah, so on our website, elephants.com, you can go to Learn and then our distance learning page, and you can see all of our different programs. We meet with students from pre-K, preschoolers to senior living groups that want to just have adult education and everything in between. We try to meet science standards so to get teachers and school districts on board. And in addition, all of that is all of our programs are completely free of charge. So it's not a financial burden to a teacher, a school, or a parent in any way. So our programs are meeting those needs, those students where they are, and you can sign up online.
And so, if you head to Hohenwald, you will probably not be invited back to the facility itself. But there is the Discovery Center. Is this also a destination for kind of not just families, but for field trips?
Yeah, we have field trips that come. We will do typically a 2-hour program with them, and then they can have lunch. Sometimes those programs are doing activities like learning about elephant, what a sanctuary has, and everything involved in it, or making enrichment, like you guys talked about in that last segment for the elephants. Sometimes those are little goodie bags of hay and popcorn and Cheerios, and then the students can draw pictures for the elephants that they're giving it to, and it really creates a connection between those students and the elephants themselves.
You know, it's interesting because they're doing all this work, and they never see the elephant physically. Like if it's like, this mythical thing, there's an elephant sanctuary back there somewhere in the woods. I don't know. Does it seem though that there is some significance to being within close proximity to the sanctuary itself?
I'd actually say, so my team, we actually don't see the elephants. We're not really ever on property. I used to joke one of the elephants was Sasquatch because I didn't even think she existed, right? She does, I promise. But I used to joke about that. And so I think it's important for us to not see the elephants because we haven't earned the elephant's trust either for an education. The care staff like Kristy, they've earned that trust of that elephant. But as an educator, I haven't. I get to talk about that elephant, but I haven't earned the trust of that elephant. So for me to be a stranger to that elephant is the same way that any of the viewers or people that came into the EDC would be a stranger.
What an interesting mindset that you really are trying to protect them from being on display. That the only people who interact with them should be people who are actively caring for them in one way or another.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, Janice, the sanctuary is a nonprofit. How do you all generate revenue to keep this expensive operation to spend $100,000, $200,000 per elephant per year? How do you keep that going?
We are so fortunate. We have wonderful supporters all over the country who are donating to the sanctuary for the care of the elephants. They can adopt an elephant, they can feed an elephant for a day, or they can make a donation to any of our programs.
Well, what is this I hear about a license plate that's coming? Like,
Yes.
where you all would get some of the revenue if you got this special license plate? Is it in the works, or it's been approved and will be on the way?
It has been approved, and we're hoping to be able to unveil it within the next month to 2 months.
And so how soon would those be available to drivers in
Well,
Tennessee?
we have to get 1,000 signatures. We have to get
you have to have a minimum.
We have to have 1,000 people agree that they will buy the license plates. And as soon as we get 1,000 signatures, then it would go into production.
I see. Well, I assume, though, it's not just kind of small individual gifts. Do you have institutions who support your work?
We have a number of family foundations that support our work.
But it's not sort of the big conservation groups that it's really individuals.
It's all the small individual donors.
Are you surprised that you're able to do this on the backs of sort of small people just being inspired by the stories and giving, you know?
Like I said, we have wonderful people out there who love elephants, and this is something they're very passionate about, and it's exciting to connect with them.
Is there an expansion plan? I mean, is it as big as it's going to be?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Right now, there's no plans to grow a great deal. We still have properties that aren't fully used, so we have some room to grow within our 3,000 acres.
But I imagine acreage is one thing. Being able to handle it with the equipment and all of that is another. Could you care for? I think you said 14 currently are there. Could you care for more than you have at the moment?
We would have to build more barns, fence more habitat, and the barns are really expensive. We just completed 2 barns for our bull elephants and habitats for them, and that was a $7 million project.
Wow. So you're saying any zoo, let's say, who was looking for a retirement home, it actually would be difficult for you to take them at the moment.
Every elephant is an individual.
Yeah.
So we'd have to look at each individual case.
Wow. Well, so you guys have been around 30 years. How are you all celebrating this kind of milestone birthday?
Take me out to the ball game.
The ball game?
Yeah, we're working with the Tennessee Sounds. We are their nonprofit spotlight on Sunday, August 10th. So Sunday.
This weekend.
Yeah, this Sunday, we're going to be their nonprofit spotlight. And so we are going to have a booth there. We're going to be throwing out the first pitch and really be talking about all things elephants at the Tennessee Sounds game.
Well, the goal should be, I guess, that you have fewer people saying, there's an elephant sanctuary? You know, do you find, though, in a public setting like that people are still surprised to hear this work?
There's always people going like, oh, I didn't know. And that's what we're trying to do, is get that word out. Yes, there's an elephant sanctuary right here in Middle Tennessee.
Well, I suppose that is, a task you create for yourself when your mission is to keep the elephants as private as you possibly can. So you signed up for this. Thank you so much for sharing the sanctuary with us this hour. Laura Roddy and Janice Zeitlin of the Elephant Sanctuary in Hohenwald. Thanks for making it a special hour.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you for tuning in this hour. This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. Today's episode was produced by Mary Mancini. It was directed by Tasha A.F. Limley, our managing editor. Our board operator is Liv Lombardi. The masterminds behind that theme music are LaRange and Namir Blade. Listen back at thisisnashville.org or wherever you get good podcasts. You can ask a smart speaker to play the latest episode of This Is Nashville. Works very easily. You can also watch the live stream, which is saved on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@WPLN. The conversation doesn't have to end here. You can comment, tell us what you want to hear on the show by leaving us a message at our phone number, 615-751-2500. Trust me, we listen to all of them. You can also find us on Blue Sky and Instagram and X at This Is Nashville. This is Nashville. I'm Blake Farmer. Go in peace.
Every day, WPLN covers emerging news stories, highlights interesting people and ideas, and layers in history and context to help you understand what's happening. For our news team, all of this comes from a place of caring. Like you, we're invested in this community. You can hear the latest in under 20 minutes on our Nashvillager podcast. Make it part of your routine in any podcasting app or streaming on our homepage at WPLN.org.
This is 90.3 WPLN,
Nashville Public Radio,
and 91.7 WHRS, Cookeville.
Nashville's home for Morning Edition and NPR News.
WPLN.org is where you can find more from WPLN News, including the Nashvillager, your human-powered newsletter and podcast, exploring Nashville news and history. Subscribe to both at WPLN.org.
Funding for Here and Now comes from MathWorks, creator of MATLAB and Simulink software, accelerating the pace of engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com.
From NPR and WBUR Boston, I'm Anthony Brooks.
I'm Peter O'Dowd. It's Here and Now. Coming up, China and the U.S. race to secure a trade deal. We'll catch up with a Kentucky soybean farmer who said this back in April.
We are very concerned because when they're all added up, it's about a 60% tariff. And that makes us very uncompetitive on the world market.